Hi, everyone. Welcome. I'm going to begin with a disclaimer to please excuse the backdrop. We are still rearranging the office and rearranging the house to make room for baby, so it looks like that. Hopefully not for much longer. So welcome. Happy Solstice. Want to preface this by saying a very warm welcome to my patrons. Typically and usually these kinds of live videos, which I do for every new moon and full moon and any major astrological event that's happening, is private, and it's only for the Patreon community. So if you don't know about Patreon, you're not a member, please feel free to come join us and find out. The link is in the details to this video. I'm going to be changing things a little bit on Patreon, so stay tuned for an announcement on that. But basically, to give you guys even more valuable content, even more in-depth readings, even more to help you with the spiritual part of your work day to day. If you're hopping on, please say hi. There is a chat box that you can join us with and ask questions or comment as I go along. Now, there has been so much commentary on the solstice, and so I'm not going to repeat what all these astrologers are talking about. I myself am not an astrologer. I have been in the field of channeling, reading, energy work for over a decade. And my skill set is really in energy reporting, or feeling the energy of the time of the system of that moment, and then reporting it and using oracle cards to kind of help me organize those thoughts for you guys and give you something a little bit more tangible. That's what we're going to do today. So before I dive into the cards, which you saw in the image of this video, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the impression I am personally receiving. This solstice is a huge portal, unlike one we've seen in a very, very, very long time. We could talk about which planets are meeting what and all that stuff, but unless you're really into astrology, that's not going to mean anything to you. So I'm going to talk to you in words that mean something. We have been for quite a long time in this energetic transition into Age of Aquarius, or what's been recognized as Age of Aquarius, into a golden era, more enlightened era. And actually, if you visit my website, I talked about this like months and months, maybe over years ago. I talked about the era that we were ushering in and kind of my impression of where we were headed. Of course, I didn't see 2020 happening at all until it began. And then I was like, oh, okay. So Stephen, you asked about what time is it? There's no specific time for this phenomenon. In fact, those of us who have been in this work, we probably started feeling the energy patterns of this 3 days ago. And now it's just like the culmination of that. So there's no like one moment in time where you're going to feel a shift. That's not happening. It's actually this whole week. 3 days ago and 3 days after today, you're going to feel a lot of energy, and it might feel a little bit like this. So portals are transition gateways. And they're very exciting because they're bringing in a new era, and it's supposed to be way more positive, way more auspicious, way less dense than where we have been. We have been living in a reality where things like manifestation, law of attraction takes forever to happen. It's a very dense reality. You're pushing through your reality. You're grinding against a lot of negative force, a lot of karmic healing, things of that nature. Aquarian age is definitely supposed to be more of an age of enlightenment, a lot more rapid, light, golden, cooperative, less competitive, things of that nature. So that's the transition that we are experiencing as a collective. However, one of the things that's happening to myself and to many of the people that I know is that this transition is illuminating all of the wounds that we have not yet tapped into fully. And a lot of them have to do with the sacral and the root chakra is what I'm seeing everywhere. So questions of vitality, purpose, sexuality, money, finances, career, family, origin, ancestry, those are associated with those two chakras. Any unresolved issue that is lingering there is just like exploding in your face right now. And you might be asking yourself, well, why is that happening? We're supposed to be moving into this age where it's so much easier and so much lighter and so much better. There's a very simple answer for that. You can't take that there. In order for you to really experience the fullness of where we're going and to really have an auspicious experience of that, you can't take that with you. So you're being given a giant magnifying glass for you to look at your current situation and say, okay, where's the deep work that I have been resisting doing? For myself, it has really been accessing where I have been resisting honoring my gifts and resisting making myself available to people to serve them with those gifts. So this is a little bit of an aside. It's kind of like an early announcement, but I want to give you guys a concrete example. A year and a half ago or so, I had a private group coaching program separate from my fitness work where I was coaching people on things like alignment and mastery of emotion, mastery of law of attraction, things of that nature. And it was really fun. It was really successful. It was called TAU. And I had to close it down because I didn't have the bandwidth to be able to do that and run my fitness organization and run my full-time bodywork practice. And I was also doing high ticket one-on-one containers for clients. And all of that took a ton of energy and I didn't have enough. So recently, one of the things that was coming back in, I retired from massage and I'm home full-time, was, okay, it's time to really go back to serving people that way. It's time to not just serving them in the container of health and fitness and those groups, but how can you serve them at a higher level in this higher container like you were doing before when you didn't have the bandwidth, but now you have it, right? And immediately I started to feel resistance to doing that, even though it's something that feels exciting and something that I feel really is an organic fit for me, because I started to think about last time and how stressed I was and how little time I had. So you might be somewhere right now imagining a future that you want, on the verge of making a decision that you need to make for bettering of your life, whether it's changing your job or starting a business or, it's finally taking care of yourself because you've been putting yourself in the back burner, but you're scared and you're having resistance and you're thinking about all the times before where you failed, where it didn't work. You're afraid you're not going to earn enough money. You're afraid you're not going to be consistent enough. And so all of those fears are really amping themselves up right now, the self-doubt, the limiting beliefs, and pulling you away from the very thing that you want to move towards, okay? So this is my message to you. Do not give in to that. More than ever, it is so important that you're anchoring into what it is that you want and not all the reasons why you think it's not going to work, okay? But listen to what you're telling yourself. Really slow down the tape and pay attention. What does the language sound like? What words are you using? What do you notice you're repeating in your mind? How does it feel in your body when you say those things? Really hone in on that and slow it down. Because when you really figure out what is the thing that you keep repeating to yourself, you'll know how to invert it. So you can rewrite that statement and have a different experience, okay? But the reason this gateway is not feeling like butterflies and sunshine for a lot of you guys is because you're carrying a shitload of resistance with you and it's not welcome where we're going, right? 2020 was a massive disruption, shakeup of all of humanity. 2021 is a rising from the ashes, and you can't do that if you're still trembling in the barracks of this, the aftermath of this burning down, okay? So now we're gonna go through the cards one by one. There's 3. Which you saw again in the image, and we're going to talk about what they mean and why they're so important. So the first one was the Lady of the Gift, but she came out inverted. When Lady of the Gift is upright, it's all about generosity, receiving, giving, this flow of energy, right? And this is going to tie into what I just said, and going back to the example of myself and being called to work with people in a new container, in a new way, and feeling the resistance to do that. Inverted, she's about withholding. Okay, so I want to ask you, where are you currently withholding from yourself your next step, whatever that is, your next step professionally, your next step in your health, your next step in your relationships, your next step in whatever it is? There's a withholding that's happening within you that's keeping you feeling like you can't move forward. And this is the season for you to really fully embrace that relationship of giving and receiving. And if you're clinging to something and you're so overwhelmed with fear, you're going to miss the natural push that the universe is trying to give you to facilitate your growth and facilitate your expansion. Okay. The next card is the moving on card. I think we could all appreciate the moving on card for 2020. Are we done? We're done. Okay. We're going to move right on. So 2021, we are moving on. Exactly what this card says. As a collective, we are moving beyond this drama. 2020 has been nothing but a psychological war zone from January 1st. And so in 2021, we get to move on, not just from that psychological drama collectively, but also individually. You get to move beyond your psychological drama and go into new territory. And so this can be leaving that relationship you finally want to leave, leaving the job that's killing you, leaving a lifestyle that's not serving you, finally dropping the ball and chain that's keeping you from having that experience of joy and success that you want to have and that you are finally coming into, okay? And the last card is the heart chakra, which is extremely beautiful card, extremely valuable card. So one of the things that has been happening during this ascension process and moving into this ascension place has been a shift into a more heart-centered experience of reality. And if you've followed any psychics on YouTube, or if you've listened to anybody who's into this kind of stuff, they're all talking about the same thing: heart-mind coherence, living a more heart-centered life, operating from the heart. The way I talked about this a lot for years before this date was moving from a society that was competition-based to a society that was collaboration-based and cooperation-based. This is the move, the shift that I was shown and how I like to talk about it. So the energy of cooperation and collaboration comes from a heart-centered space. It comes from wanting to see everybody win. It comes from wanting to see unity. It comes from wanting to see one another support each other. That's the new frequency of the age of Aquarius and where we are shifting into. We have spent a lot of time in our minds. We have built a society that values mental capacity over anything else. And as a result, we are living lives that are frustrated, overworked, underpaid, disconnected from our relationships and from ourselves. And we're more sick than we've ever been. I don't think it's a coincidence that this, how do I put this? This pathogen reality struck our society right at sort of the apex of where we have been obsessing in our minds about, how to become faster, better, and competing with the next guy, the next person, and living in this constant state of adrenaline and stress. It leads to disease. It always has, and it always will. Disease, not just physically, but socially and interpersonally. It's not a healthy way to exist in the world. So we are now at a point where that's no longer going to be a sustainable way of living, where people are calling that out and saying, I don't want that job. I don't care how much money you're going to offer me or how much prestige that comes with. I want to spend more time with my family, or I want to travel more. Our priorities are shifting. And it's very important that you are coming into alignment with what do you prioritize in your life? What is most valuable to you right now? And starting January 2021, you are putting that at the forefront of your reality instead of making that the perpetual backseat of your reality. Okay, so this is my brief and hopefully very powerful and inspiring message for you for the winter solstice 2020. If you're on Patreon, I did share an awesome meditation that I found that was short. It was like 14 minutes and it was great to start my day with. It can be done at any time. However, there is no start or stop for this solstice energy. Again, most of us have been feeling it for a few days before. It's really kind of at the apex now, and you'll still be feeling the effects of it for the next couple of days. So if you have any questions about this at all, or any personal questions that you would like to have some reflecting with, you can go ahead and drop a comment and I'll be in touch. Also, you can send me an email, drop me an email. And also on my website, I do have an email list. So if you'd like to stay connected and hear about updates like the upcoming membership group that I'm launching with more of this kind of content, and also the very extremely limited high ticket containers that I'm going to be offering as well, because I don't have a lot of time as a mom of soon to be two, that will be on there as well. All right. So I hope you guys have an amazing solstice experience. Love you so much. Thanks for hanging.